So from this login screen, the way that this would behave in our typical fine dining scenario is generally when you have fine dining, you do have a bartender scenario. And the way we have the login set up is that you have to manually log yourself in and manually log yourself out. So if you have a number of different employees that are using the same terminal, they'll have to log themselves out to make sure that they have the appropriate ID when they're logging in. But when you have a bartender, that's probably going to be one of two people or the only person behind the bar. They can leave this open once they've logged in, and they can remain logged in through the entirety of their shift. So it's just eliminating one step that you would have to do as a bartender that can kind of help you with your speed there. So once we log into the system, if we had our typical role of being a server, then we would be brought directly into this screen, which is where we have all of our front-end availability to be able to start our orders and pull up existing orders that we already have open, do anything that we would need to do there. So something that's different than if you were on the webinar yesterday, we have our tables and our tab map here. The table maps here are all created by the client. So we can do different sections and we can do different color coordinating based on whatever it is that we would be needing in terms of our different sections that we might have per server, or if we have a different event, we can do different profiles. So here we have Friday's party. It's just a basic one that's here. We can actually do different table layouts based on different events. So if we're kind of a fine dining establishment that typically does parties, we do like rehearsal dinners for weddings, we do things like that. We can actually set up a certain table layout based on the number of guests that are going to be there for a large event. And we can have like a 20, a 30, a 40, and then just make them active based on when we need to do that. All of these are created by what's called a WYSIWYG editor, and that stands for what you see is what you get. It's a drag and drop interface where you just click to add a table, you drag it to wherever it is that you want it to go on the map, and then from there you can assign how many seats would be on that table, any colors you would want to do on there, and you can also put any kind of name to any one of these attributes that we have here. So we can see, looking at this right now, that we do have two tables that are already in use. You can see who is the server responsible for that table. You can also see the total that they have, as well as how long that table has been open for. So if we wanted to go into one of these tables, say if I wanted to go into table 1 and pull that up, I would just tap on that, and I have my already existing order going here. Or if I wanted to do a new table, I would just select whatever table it is on the map, and we have table 4 there. We can set this as something every time we open a new table where we can have the number of guests selected. This is something that does help us when we come time to do any kind of split check. There's also different features that we can do associated with the selecting of the number of guests based on the different policy that a restaurant has. Typically, parties of 6 or more or 8 or more have a mandatory automatic gratuity that can be assigned. If you have these selected, the 6 or more for the number of guests on this table, then we will have the automatic gratuity that will automatically be charged on this ticket. So from here, if I wanted to do any kind of steps of service, it would be selecting whatever it is that I have for my first step. So typically that would be your beverage. At this point in time, I can just go ahead and send that in. Once everything's been sent in, it goes gray. I can go to one of my other tables. So now if I needed to go over to my table 1 and I wanted to take our appetizer order, I could come in here and select whatever it is that they wanted as their appetizer. And then from there, we can send that into the kitchen, do our resend, and you can see that we have our steps of service going on here as well. Other things that we can do to start a new check in the fine dining scenario is we can do our tabs. We can either swipe a card that will pull off the pre-authorization, and that will take the cardholder's name. So when we're starting a tab, that will have the cardholder's name as well as the card type and the amount of the pre-authorization. You can set a default amount for pre-authorization. So if you want to have $20 as your typical pre-auth, that will be your blanket pre-authorization. But when you do that pre-authorization and you want to do maybe something beyond your typical, say somebody's wanting to order a bottle of Kettle One, that's obviously way beyond $20. You want to do a pre-authorization for at least the amount of that bottle. You can change that at the time of getting the authorization, so you know that the card is actually going to be able to process the sale. Otherwise, we can just place in somebody's name, and that would start a new tab for them like we have here. We did touch on this before, but we do have color coordination with the tab based on the state of the order. So Earl here, the tab has been created, but nothing's been put into the actual order. But David has a tab that's already running. We have here you can see he has his Guinness draft, and we have the size of that draft is being placed here as a modifier within the system. So based on the different sizes that we have available that people can do for their drafts in this scenario, that is the modifier. And if we wanted to just repeat that as the bartender, it's just hitting repeat, and when we repeat that, it will also take all of the modifiers and repeat them as well. So instead of having to do the 4-step click to be able to enter in Guinness plus that modifier, now I can do it with one click and then just hit repeat. So it is a way that you can kind of save a little bit of time for a bartender scenario as well there. And then we send that, and we can go easily into any other ticket set or tab that we may need to. If we wanted to start a new tab, we could do this here easily as well. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. We've created his tab, and we're ready to go. We can start building his order. And you can use those tabs for just bar patrons. You can use them for walk-in orders. You can use them for takeout orders as a fine dining establishment if you do that. Those are things that you all have the ability to be able to do. So let's go back over into one of our other tables so we can kind of show you a little bit more about the steps of service. So here, if I wanted to come back in and I wanted to go ahead and put in our entrees, a few more things that we're able to do with these different items is splitting items. It's something we haven't seen before. So if I wanted to do a 14-inch custom pie, but I wanted it to be split into 2, I can select that item, select split, split that in half, and now I can modify these 2 halves separately as unique items. So if I wanted to take this 1 of 2, and I want to modify that one to add something specific to it, maybe just mushrooms, and I want to add something to the second, we are now in 2 of 2. And we wanted to do pepperoni on that one. We now have our half and half kind of piece of pie that we're able to do here. We can also assign seats if we wanted to do any kind of seat tracking at this point in time. So if I wanted to, if I was had the kind of establishment where based on the number of seats that I have programmed into the table that we actually do seating, this is going to be in your fine dining establishment where you have a food runner who is really their only job is going to be to take food from the kitchen to the table. When we do seat assignments, then we know that the half pizza that we have with the mushrooms would be going to seat 1. The one with half that's with pepperoni would be going to 2. And we can do that either by doing it in that direction, or there's also another way that restaurants will typically do it where you'll have maybe the one seat that's closest on the left and then going in a counterclockwise order can also do your seating arrangement. But this gives them the option of putting something into the ticket that would be a little bit more concrete for a food service. And we can see that that seat has been added here. Okay, we'll just go ahead and resend that. We'll act like everything's gone through, and now we're going to get into any point of taking payment. Same payment scenario that we had before for quick service. Same different types of things you're going to do. Your dine type is probably not going to change too much when you're doing fine dining. One thing that would be used, though, the merge scenario, and that would be if we're going to be moving somebody, say they had a reservation and the table wasn't ready yet, so they started with a cocktail at the bar. Now we can take that tab we started from them at the bar and move them over to the table, merge those tickets together. We can move to a table in use, and we can also merge 2 tabs as well. So if you have a scenario where somebody is wanting to pick up their friend's drinks, or they're trying to buy somebody drinks for some reason, you can merge those 2 tabs together and make it one existing tab. And that's our merge ticket feature. We also have the transfer feature here. So if we needed to transfer this ticket to a different server that's on the floor, I can select them from the drop-down menu and transfer that ticket over. And at that point in time, this ticket would no longer be my responsibility as an employee. Same things with open item and open liquor to be able to do our non-menu items that are a client request. Service charge is still available. We still have our custom tender types. Gift certificate we have there. Grubhub is seamless as different tender types. If we wanted to do a split check, this is something that you're going to encounter more with the tableside service, especially with large parties. And this is something that they can let them know. They can let the waiter know that they need to do the split check at any point in time in the sale, which generally does happen. People don't always say at the beginning of the meal, 1 check, 2 checks, 3 checks. They usually say it towards the end. So you do have the flexibility at any point in time in the sale to get to the split check function. And it's adding a ticket, So if we have, say, 3 people here, we do have the option of changing the name on the ticket if for some reason we knew how to keep track of it or we wanted to keep track of it some other way. So if maybe this was a guy in red shirt and then this is going to be a person in the green hat, we can do that to kind of keep everything a little bit more sorted for ourselves. That's just an option that's there available. So when we want to move items over, we just select the ticket that we want to move to, and we'll just select our items and then go ahead and move them over. And if for some reason we have selected something in error, say the sprite actually wanted that on ticket 1, I can move it to a different ticket if I've already placed it somewhere that I was not supposed to. So this is actually supposed to go on that middle ticket. We'll move that over. And now we click done, and we have 3 separate tickets that we can now process as different forms of payment. So now if I wanted to do cash for this one, I can go ahead and do cash. And then this other payment here, I can go to ticket and take the payment as I did the other one for maybe some other form of payment. But we'll go ahead and do a gift certificate on this one. And you can see how very simply there you're able to break up your transactions and process them individually. Other things that we can do is the same with the split pay. So if we need to go across multiple forms of tender, that's something that's an available option here as well. And then within our options menu, we have all the same set of options that we would have for QSR. They're probably going to be used a little bit differently here. You're going to probably be using gift card a little bit more in a fine dining situation. You can still get all of your history information, all of your house accounts, all of your loyalty program information. We can also see our open drawer, our register information, any petty cash disbursements, those details within that, and the open orders that might be in the system, which generally speaking would be probably about 5 or 6 during an average day. And then pretty much every other option that we have here is going to be the same that we would have for our QSR. The only real difference that it comes to be in terms of the system with fine dining versus QSR is the different modules that we toggle on and off. So if we don't need barcode, so we turn barcode off. We don't need delivery options, so we turn the delivery off. But what we did do is we turned on the table maps, we turned on the tabs, we turned on automatic gratuity, other different features and functions that we're going to want to be using, the guest function. Those are all things that we're able to just turn on, and we basically have turned ourselves from a QSR to doing a full service dining without having to do any real dramatic change to our point of sale, just toggling a different few modules. We'll move ahead on, we've seen the clock before, we'll go ahead to the reports. And with these reports, there's a number of different ones that are going to be a little bit more specific to fine dining. Within our sales metrics, so we obviously have our simple daily report, and this is the dashboard view showing all of our transactions, all pending transactions. One of the things that is going to be useful for fine dining or anybody that does tableside service is their hourly sales by dollar and quantity. You're going to really want to use this to be able to know when it's time to start cutting your wait staff during the middle of the service. So when your lunch slows down, you have 5 waiters on the floor. You want to start scaling back. You'll do 4 first, then 3, then 2, based on how many tables you actually have consistently coming in. This is where you can see your quantity based on the different hours and see which ones, how many people you're going to be needing on the floor. And because of the fact that we can do changing of dates, we can also to go back and look historically. So if we wanted to see maybe last year on Mother's Day, how much quantity we did, how many people we want to have working, or we want to see what we did last Wednesday to be able to do our schedule for next Wednesday, we can kind of come in there and see historical patterns to see how many people we would need to be staffing. Other things that we can do here within the product section, we have our sales by product top 10, and we also have products with no sales activity. So you can use those for either doing promotions or for doing knowing which items are on the menu that are not selling, anything that you're offering that's not being sold, so that you can remove that from your menu option. Our inventory reports are all going to be the same as we've seen for QSR. So anything that's been added to stock, we have all of that. We can also, we're probably going to be using more in a fine dining scenario, a little bit more of what's been subtracted from stock, because you do have a little bit more options in terms of, from the customer's perspective, being able to send things back. so you're going to have a little bit higher of a waste when you're doing tableside dining. So this is where you can come in and see why you're wasting the food, what's going on, what's been comped, why it's been comped. Same register information is here if we wanted to get any full register reports to get into actual sales, what actually happened on each sale. We can come in there and see based on whoever is the employee, all of their different sales that they have there. The employee metrics actually come into play a lot when you do tableside service because you are doing a very delicate balance with scheduling wait staff. One of the things that's a really good one to do is the employee ticket average. Most restaurants will schedule their employees based on their performance. So if you have somebody like we have Eric Imhoff here, has a very high average, so does Kyle Petruska, they're going to be more likely to be scheduled on Friday night, Saturday night than Scott and Pete on the far right who have much lower ticket averages. They'll be working on Tuesday lunch and Wednesday lunch. So that way, this way, you can use these reports to know, as a fine dining establishment, who are your top earners, who gets the highest ticket average, who gets the highest sales, and who's able to really make money by flipping the tables for you. We also do with the sales by employee. So if you wanted to see not by ticket average, but by total sales, this is something that you can see as well. And that is something that you can, once again, use to help with scheduling. We also do have a labor cost and sales analysis. This one doesn't have the same amount of information going into it, but typically this would show based on your payroll and the sales that you have for any period of time. It can show the labor as a percentage of your sales to make sure you're staying within that threshold. And then we also have an upsell report for employee upsell reports, which are something that you can do if you have, like add chicken to the salad, desserts can be an upsell, appetizers or small bites can be an upsell, those kinds of things. You want to see who's bumping up their tickets and who's adding to their tickets. It's, once again, something you would want to use to have your best employees scheduled at your best time. And then we also can just do things like adjusting our employee hours that we have tracked through the system. That's something that can be done here. So if somebody forgot to punch out, or as can often happen with the scenario in a tableside dining, whoever's working the lunch shift, they're going to be coming in about an hour before open, and they're going to be doing all their setup. And it's very typical for somebody to come in and for that first hour not realize they're not punched in until they go to do their first sale, and then they realize they never clocked in. So this is where you can adjust that if you needed to adjust that for any reason. Okay, and then we also have our receivables here. So if we're going to be doing any kind of invoicing, any B2B sales, that's something that we can have there. If we do any kind of large events where we're going to be taking deposits, we can do the invoicing for that as well. We have the same client management system for QSR as we have for fine dining. So if there is any kind of loyalty program, any kind of tracking of historical sales, anything that we want to do in terms of marketing purposes, emails, addresses, all of that is going to be in the system the same as what for QSR. Okay, house accounts are here as well, and once again, that's just paying ahead basically, and then debiting off of whatever you paid into your account. All your tax reports are there, security reports. Gift cards are done in the security report. We can see anytime anybody has checked a balance. We can see anytime that anybody has added a new balance onto a gift card. So there's full tracking when it comes to those gift cards. You know exactly who's responsible for everything and what the action was that they did. You can see here whether it was a sale, whether they got balance, whatever it was that they did with that gift card. So there is a place that you can track everything that's being done there. We can also track all of our discounts that have been given. So if as a owner, if you want to keep tabs on your managers and how they're doing in terms of giving discounts based on customers' satisfaction, or if they're just giving them out all of the time, you can see that with both discounts and with comps, which are generally manager-only functions. So if you wanted to come in here and see all of those things that are being applied, you could see all of that based on the different register. And then any credit card and refund information is back here, as well as our customers, our vendors, and our coupons. Product management is the exact same as it would be for the QSR. So we have all the same product attributes on every single one of these. We have the same ability to be able to do item kits versus doing a flat item. So if I wanted to show what is all the different components of that item within the product, I have that here. So this would be our 10-inch pizza. We know it has the 10-inch dough, fresh basil, tomato sauce, and mozzarella cheese. So when we sell one of these, it's going to adjust our inventory for all of these products. So that's something that you can, that's really helpful if you have really elaborate dishes that you're doing in fine dining, and you can keep your inventory very tight. Other things that you can do in terms of making sure you're really on top of your inventory is we do have the minimum stock alerts that are still available for this product. So if you wanted to be able to have somebody notified by either text or email when you hit minimum stock and you need to either reorder or remake something, that is something that can be put onto any product as well. We do have the category sort. So all of those different categories, those parent categories that we have in the front on the bottom right-hand side that are all those buttons that we're scrolling through to be able to input our different food items, we can change the order of all of those. So based on what we have as our most popular items for sale, our most profitable items, the buttons that we know that we're going to be accessing all the time, we can move these around, and we can basically put whatever we would need at the very top so that we can have that going in an order that's going to be really fast for us in the interest of keeping speed. You want to be able to make sure that everything can be done with the fewest amount of clicks in the system, and you also want to make sure that things are going to be going as fast as possible, especially if you have multiple people that are using the same terminal. So you don't want to have that line that can form at the point of sale terminal where you have 3 different waiters or waitresses that are waiting to use it. You want things to be as fast as possible. And also if you're doing any kind of bar sales, once again, you want that to be as fast as possible. So those are all things that we kind of give here so that you have the ability to tailor things a little bit better to yourself. Okay, so other things that we have here, we have the same kind of product record that we had before. So the same measurements that we have, different UPCs if we wanted to use barcodes, active and inactive for status. This extended description here, if I wanted to put in the full menu description, I can do that, and I can pull this product up in the front end point of sale and see that full description. So if you're kind of a location that has a lot of different cocktails that have similar ingredients or a lot of salads that are pretty similar, things that can be easily confused by the wait staff and they just want to refresh their memory, they can pull that up and they can see the full description of the item, and they will be able to then, have a much more knowledgeable way to address the customer without having to be sitting there with an open menu in front of their face, which does not instill confidence in the typical consumer when they see that their waiter does not really know the menu. It's kind of a little bit more of a way that you can look at that information by being a little bit more sly about it. We do have all of the different modifiers that can be attached here. Any force modifiers we would want to attach, any allergen information could be attached here as well. We do have our measurements here. If you're doing things each, if it's by the pound, if it's by the case sale, that can be done as well. Any notes on that order? Once again, if we're using our paperless kitchen module, this would come up. You could actually tap on the item in the paperless kitchen module, and this note would come up, and it would be something that you could use to get a little bit more consistency out of your kitchen, especially if you have high turnover. Nutrition information programmed here, pricing information, and with our discount that we have in the price, so we have obviously the price and the cost, and that discounted price is we can set up happy hours. We can set up 2 different happy hours. So if we want to do an early bird and then a happy hour, or we want to do a happy hour and then a service happy hour late at night, that discounted price we'll click on every time that we are within our happy hour period. And once the happy hour period is over, it will revert back to its original price. We do have also, in terms of doing discounted pricing, that is something that will be coming up on a future release, is the ability to put in a discounted price to be charged for a period of time. So if you want to have for the first 2 weeks of February, that this entree is $9.99 is the promotion we're doing, it will charge that price, and then once that period is over, it will revert back to the original price. Inventory management that's being done by the individual item is here as well. This is where we have that minimum stock. If we needed to adjust our stock quantity, this is something that you're probably going to have a lot of being done more in fine dining, where you have a kitchen manager that is going to be counting everything in the cooler. They're going to make sure that everything is on hand on a daily basis, and they will adjust their inventory up or down based on what they actually have counted, what they actually have available for sale. So if you do a lot of custom things in fine dining where, like if you're like a French bistro and you're doing a lot of your own custom pies and creme brulees and gaillettes and everything like that, that require you to make them ahead of time, you can do your manual adjustment of stock. That's going to be here now independent of the purchase orders that you're creating that would do both adjustments of stock. So if this was our house made for stock and we all make them in batches of 12, we've made 2 batches, we could adjust up by 24 because we've actually created this item. Okay, our notification for both email alert and SMS is here. and then any of our custom data fields to be able to look at any of our information is here as well. So any way that we would want to cross-reference, something that is usually done with our fine dining establishments with this scenario is that if they have any kind of exotic ingredients that have to come from special purveyors, they can use that as one of their values. So if for some reason this doesn't come in, say it's a specialty meat, maybe it's lamb or something like that, and they have a few dishes, they want to know what's going to be affected by not having that item in stock, so they can come in and search by that search value and pull up all of those different products that we have available for sale that are going to be affected. All of the other features we have for stock and for purchasing are going to be the same as QSR as we've seen before. Everything from our employees and our clients and our configuration is also going to be the same. So you can see it's really the same food-related product, but it's just toggling on those modules to get something a little bit more specific, and that looks a little bit more finessed when it comes to the fine dining. And one thing to show you within the configuration is that table layout. We have all of these active layouts that we can set. So these are all of the different profiles that we have for our table maps. So you can see we have one that's wedding, we have a main bar, we have a back mini bar, we have live event seating. So if we were doing an event, we would just click on one of those, update it, and then we would be able to have that map that's going to be available for us to use. The layout wizard itself, which we touched on briefly, this is the WYSIWYG editor. So if I was making a new table map here, I wanted to create a few tables, I would just move that around. If I want to do some high tops over here, I could do that, and this is all based on my layout that I can change at any point in time. If I wanted to change the information here, I can edit its text. Maybe this is going to be, this one's going to be table, we'll do this one, table 9. We can do that edit, and we can also edit color themes and add seeds. So if I wanted to do all of my sections here, break down my sections, I have my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and I want to do that by color coordination, I have all of these different options that I can do to color coordinate those different sections so that people can look at the map and know exactly who's going to be responsible for which table. And that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Do we have any questions that anybody would like to go over? Any other features you'd like to see more on?
One question in regard to the gift card program. I don't think we've covered that at all, and so maybe if you can speak to how that works with the system.
Sure. I don't have the card reader here, so I can't walk you through the whole process, but within our options menu, we have the gift cards here. If we wanted to check balances, this is where we would just swipe the card, and then we would get a prompt, and it would turn out the ticket of the balance on the card, so you would know how much is available to be used. If we wanted to use it as a form of payment, at the end of the transaction, it shows up as a form of payment under gift, the same as it would be for a card, cash, check, coupon, anything like that. If we wanted to activate a new card, it's just selecting activate. Based on who we have for our credit card program provider, I know Clutch requires you to have a little bit more information. Choosing a customer, you can just do a blanket customer for the whole store. And then the amount to load, you would select from here. We'll go ahead and select 100, hit apply. When we do that, it's going to, we'd have to do a new sale here. So if we wanted to load a new card, we'll go to load, we'll select our customer, just go ahead and select him, and then the amount we would want to load. You hit apply. That adds it to the order pad. So if we had an order that was already going here, say on table 10, just 8, and then it's Christmas time, and say, can I get a $50 gift certificate as well? We can come in here and we can add that to their tab. Or if we want to do just a new sale, somebody just walk right in, can I get a gift card? That's what we're doing basically right now. And then from here, we would send it as we would anything else. This would be set to be non-print, so it's not going to print out a ticket in the kitchen. The kitchen doesn't need to know when somebody is going to be getting a gift card. But from here, we would pay for it. And once we've paid for it, and you can see that it is a non-taxable item. We have it set as non-taxable, so it's even 100. And what we have here at this point in time is we would go into ticket, and we have gift load. So once we've taken our payment, now we can swipe that gift card, and that $100 is actually going to go on it. So you can't, it's not swiping the card before you've taken payment, it's swiping the gift card to activate it after payment's been taken. So at this point in time, we swipe the gift card and it's ready to be used. So there's no way that you can have somebody giving out free gift cards. You can't really abuse it because it has to have a money trail that is associated with the card. And then we also did see in the security section of our reporting that it shows who did that load. So you'll know exactly who's putting money onto gift cards if for some reason you start to get a barrage of gift cards that you don't remember being given out. So that is something that goes in there.
Okay, so then gift cards and the management of that is all handled within the system. Does that not require something like ValueTech to be integrated in order to handle gift cards?
It does. We are integrated with both ValueTech and Clutch.
Okay.
I mean, they have their own little things that you need to do with them, but in terms of being able to use it as a seamless form of payment in the point of sale, everything is done through the point of sale at the transaction level. So, I mean, there's going to be different things that you're going to need to do within your profile with the gift card provider, but that would be outside of what would happen on your normal day and your normal day's transactions. Your average employee isn't going to need to get into your profile or your management system with Clutch or ValueTech. They can do everything through the point of sale.